Ukraine's $700 million multi-front drone offensive shatters Crimea's command hub and Russian defenses. In one of the most consequential nights of the war, Ukraine launched a coordinated multi-front drone offensive that overwhelmed Russian radars, burned through elite air defenses, and crippled command hubs from Crimea to Kubinka, using platforms that cost less than a household appliance. High-end Russian jets, helicopters, and jamming systems worth millions were forced into a chaotic defense against $8 drones skimming the water, micro-missiles weaving through radar gaps, and ground units advancing under a web of electronic deception. As the fallout spread across air bases, fuel grids, and civilian areas, the full scale of the operation became clear. Now, let's go back to where it all began. Today at 5:30 a.m., the Crimean coastline lay under a soft grey dawn. The officer villas above the cliffs were quiet, their calm almost theatrical. 3 miles offshore, a Crate 57 drone boat worth around $100,000 skimmed the water like a pane of glass. Packed into its hull were 8 OSA-X FPV drones, each costing between $8 and $100, an R-17C Spear micro-missile valued at $12,000, and an Aquila 9 Recon mini-jet drone priced at $40,000. Its thermal sensors were already mapping heat signatures along the shore. This small platform, cheap by conventional standards, would help trigger a day of strikes that analysts later assessed at up to roughly $700 million across multiple fronts that day. A Russian Mi-8 gunship, a $12 million helicopter, detected a faint echo near the coastline and fired warning rockets. 2 ultra-cheap OSA-X drones released flare decoys, blinding the rockets and causing them to explode harmlessly in the water. This controlled action forced the expensive helicopter to waste munitions and expose its position. On the cliffs, a Spetsnaz reconnaissance team heard the detonations roll back from the sea. One operator caught a flash of metal against the rock line. The Aquila 9 Recon mini-jet, the $40,000 heat-mapping scout slicing through wind shear. He raised an anti-drone rifle worth about $25,000 and fired. The shot passed close enough to scorch the tail paint, but failed to damage the flight core. The Aquila responded by banking so close to the cliff face that dust lifted from the stone. Its thermal package captured the Mi-8's fading exhaust, the sniper's position, and secret antennas hidden near the villa compound. Seconds later, the full dataset streamed back to the crate offshore. No wreckage was left behind, but a line had been crossed. Ukrainian intelligence intercepted Russian radio traffic mentioning coordination center and emergency UAV codes shortly after a probe. This confirmed the quiet villa facing the sea was actually a command node for Russia's FPV drone fleet in southern Crimea, directing explosive drones. The initial strikes were just the start. The target shifted to the network's brain, deep inland. A $30 million Russian Zoopark 1M counter-battery radar powered up, locking onto a low-flying OSA-X drone. Offshore, the drone's crate registered the lock, firing an R-17C Spear micro-missile. Staying low over the waves, the missile climbed at the last moment to strike the radar's auxiliary antenna. The impact destroyed the antenna, blinding Zoopark for approximately 40 seconds and reducing scan capacity by 70%, with a weapon cheaper than a military truck. Russia escalated its response by deploying an $11 million Su-25 SM ground attack jet to hunt the radar-cutting threat along the shoreline. The pilot's thermal search was fruitless, as the OSA-X drones had dropped to 15 feet, skimming the water and hiding in cliff shadows. Simultaneously, Russian technicians at a villa activated at least 6 $11 million Borisogledsk-type jammers, unleashing an invisible 5-kilometer wave. The electromagnetic attack briefly blinded 3 OSA-X drones for 0.8 seconds. AI inertial cores took over, 2 stabilized, but the third clipped the cliff, losing its nose camera, and continued on gyros and old trajectory data. The battle sharpened further. The frustrated Su-25 SM armed S-13 unguided rockets, worth about $6,000 each, and saturated a suspected grid square offshore. The rockets hammered the sea close enough to trigger alarms on the crate, but not close enough to force it to break cover. On a rocky spur overlooking a gorge, a Spetsnaz sniper tracked the damaged OSA-X limping along the cliff shadow. One controlled burst tore its tail motor away. The drone spiraled into the surf, a minor tactical win for Russia, and Ukraine's first confirmed loss of the morning. Offshore, the crate signaled a new phase with 2 blinks of deck lights, the shift into phantom mesh formation, a layered geometry designed to slip past superior firepower. The remaining drones split into 3 groups. Some skimmed the water, others hugged cliffs, and a few flew high to scout and confuse. Russian defenses reacted, with a Pantsir S-2 firing a $160,000 missile at a crate-projected decoy signature, a $50 million Su-30. SM launched a $300,000 R-73 missile at the highest drone, which dodged it. The OSA X-net then closed in on the actual target. A low-tier drone destroyed the sensor mast of a Tiger M armored reconnaissance vehicle near the villa gates. 2 more slipped through the roof, detonating shaped charges that destroyed the main Borissoglebsk-type jammer at the compound's heart. Another drone released a small thermo-flare pod, $1,000, causing an Su-30 SM's missile seeker to lose its lock. With Russia's air, ground, and electronic defenses momentarily faltering, the drone net broke through, silencing the Crimean FPV Coordination Center and contributing a critical share of the day's $700 million in total Russian losses. As the villa burned and the radar failed, the impact reached civilians. Smoke covered a fishing village. Russian firefighters rescued a dazed Ukrainian technician near the shore. Ukrainian border guards used loudspeakers to warn nearby families of debris and unexploded fragments. Children sheltered as the smell of burning electronics spread. The pattern suggested increasing cost exchange advantages for low-cost drones over high-end defenses, yet civilians remained in the blast radius. Earlier, before the Crimean strike peaked, another axis of Ukraine's campaign had already ignited over Kubinka Air Base west of Moscow. At 3:47 a.m., the silence over the base broke as 3 Russian Ka-52 attack helicopters surged from the tree line, firing 80 mm rockets towards suspected Ukrainian drone positions. S-400 radars swept a wide radius, while Cornet teams dug into bunkers, watching the forest edges. This was a preemptive move intended to seal one of Russia's core air hubs. Just past 4 a.m., Ukrainian UJ-22 loitering drones and swarms of FPV kamikaze units began to rise in staggered waves. Flying under 150 feet and weaving through the treetops, they exploited blind spots in S-400 coverage. They spread out in decoy patterns. Some carried chaff pods, others mimicked the radar cross-section of larger aircraft. The goal was to force Russian radar to blink first. When one site powered up and locked on, the first wave banked away and a second wave dove on preloaded coordinates. Lancet-style strike drones descended at high speed and disabled several radar units before crews could move or reprogram. On the ground, 4-legged robot dogs scanned for mines, traps, and hidden sentries, opening safe lanes instead of seizing territory. The first phase was about information control, not ground capture. By 4:26 a.m., the western tree line groaned under the movement of Polish-supplied PT-91 tanks and Ukrainian T-72 AMTs. They advanced in overlapping V formations, using broken terrain and wreckage as cover, their turrets sweeping the mist. Behind them, infantry on dirt bikes sped through narrow tracks, carrying man-portable air defense systems, anti-radar drones, and backpack jammers. Every few hundred feet they halted, spread thermal decoys, and transmitted short bursts of targeting data to artillery and drone operators. Russian BM-21 Grad batteries responded with classic saturation fire, but Ukrainian units shifted routes regularly, leaving many rockets to crash into empty clearings and already shelled zones. The advance was defined not by speed, but by rhythm and coordination, with drones circling above to map every Russian correction. At 4:52 a.m., Ukrainian Su-25 aircraft swept in low from the southeast, timed precisely with the radar gaps carved out minutes earlier by the drones. Flying in pairs, they dropped glide bombs and airburst munitions onto hardened radar positions and mobile command trailers. Ka-52 helicopters pivoted into interception, launching Igla-type heat-seeking missiles, but trailing Mi-8 helicopters fitted with electronic warfare pods pushed into the zone. Their DRFM jammers and infrared countermeasures distorted the targeting picture. Missile trails veered off, scopes filled with noise. Under this dome of interference, Ukrainian FPV drones skimmed across the base's surface, cutting fuel lines, slamming into hangar doors, and breaching blast walls. By 5:15 a.m., about half of Kubinka's outer sensor grid was assessed offline. Following grid weakening, Ukraine launched an attack. By 5:18 a.m., mine-clearing robots and combat engineers secured the southern perimeter and secondary runway. A JDAM-type munition disabled the central control tower. A special forces unit infiltrated, cutting satellite uplinks and fiber connections, and deploying a jammer to sever outbound communications. Russia countered at 5:32 a.m. with reserve radar, S-400S, Cornet teams, and BM-21 batteries. Ukraine responded with decoys, updated drone targeting, follow-up Su-25 runs, and FPV drones intercepting Russian reconnaissance by 5:56 a.m. With objectives met and enemy communications and radar crippled, Ukrainian command ordered a withdrawal. The disengagement was structured, not chaotic. Motorbike teams that had earlier flanked Kubinka now raced along smoke-covered corridors carrying stretchers instead of rockets. Under drone overwatch, they evacuated wounded personnel from both sides. Robot mules hauled the critically injured across cratered runways at modest speed. One medic team paused to stabilize a surrendering Russian soldier, his leg torn by shrapnel. The operation ended not with a bid to occupy the base, but with a measured exit after disabling key systems. The signal was clear. Ukraine could reach deeply into Russia's air defense belt, hit with precision, and still pull back in good order. Ukraine used a multi-pronged strategy against key Black Sea fuel infrastructure near Feodosia. Unmanned aircraft lured Russian Su-30S away, creating a 5-minute window for ground forces, Rosomak carriers with anti-armor teams and jammers to attack pumping grid defenses. Counter-battery drones guided 35mm fire from offshore against Russian BMPs. Small UGV-led thermal and laser mapping below the pier charted fuel lines, informing precision strikes from offshore Vilka M and inland HIMARS batteries on pressure nodes, bunkers, and command servers. These strikes damaged Feodosia's fuel network capacity and resilience, preparing the ground for future operations. Ukraine's coordinated deep strikes on Crimea's command villa, airbase, and fuel hub effectively blinded Russian radar, destroyed jamming systems, wrecked armor, and damaged critical infrastructure, inflicting an estimated $700 million in losses while preserving Ukraine's assets. The attacks demonstrated Ukraine's capability to coordinate air, land, sea, and electronic warfare deep within Russian-held territory while maintaining restraint, even as the war increasingly involves low-cost drones outsmarting expensive systems. The key question remains: how will Russia adjust its defenses, retaliation, or front lines in response to this technologically shifting conflict? And what will be the cost for civilians caught between these systems? Share your thoughts in the comments section below.